So this is a Chinese wisteria, and it's come to my attention that there aren't many good videos on pruning Chinese wisteria, and they're very specific. You look at all this whip-like growth, and none of this is going to bloom, and it's only going to get worse. It's a good idea when you're doing any pruning to sort of strategize. I've got my secateurs, I've got my Gumboy silky saw, which is always have good tools. So I'm going to look at this and I'm going to see if there's any major branches that should come off first. And I don't love the way that this is all coming out in the middle of nowhere. I'd like it more pushed back. So I think I'm going to put these away. And I'm going to start by taking this off, but I was going to leave this, but wait, that's dead. And if you're not sure, if we make a little slice here, if it just breaks off like that, but if you're not sure, just give it a scratch. See how there's no green there? Whereas if I give this a scratch, see the green? That's how you can tell if something's alive or dead. Okay. So, where's this guy coming from? There's not much there. You can't glue them back on. So I'm going to start by taking this off here. And just like with any pruning, there's a branch bark ridge. There's no real growth collar, a little bit. So I'm going to take this off. Here. Sometimes it's okay to finish a cut with your secateurs. You can get it going. And I'm looking at this and I'm seeing this branch that I'm leaving is all interwoven, but I think I'm going to take it back to here and leave this. And this guy all the way back to here and leave that. Now here's a telling branch. This big whip-like growth here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buds. I'm going to take it back to 4 there. So that is the important bit. When you're taking off all this whip-like growth, you leave 3 to 5 buds on the plant and the rest you take off. When you're pulling vines out of a canopy, if you do one big pull, it breaks things. But if you do a lot of little pulls, then you're going to have much more luck getting it out. So I'm looking at this and I'm seeing it where it goes. And I want to leave some of this on the canopy. This whip-like growth, like that, isn't going to bloom from the rest of it. So it's only going to form buds there. Always you're dead, diseased, and damaged. I'm going to leave this for now because some of that whip-like growth you may wish to guide it to cover an arbor or extend across whatever it is you're growing it on, like in this case, the fence. These are very fiddly to prune. Now this has already been cut, either by the bunnies or by someone else pruning. So you kind of have to follow it back to get out all that dead stuff. Dead, disease, damaged. Dead, disease, damaged. Never leave stubs. They don't heal. So when you're pruning, you either want to prune back to a side or lateral branch. So we're going to prune this dead piece off, and that might bloom. This guy, let's take him back to here and take off the dead stuff, about 1/4 of an inch above a bud. Lots of stubs in here from previous pruning. I'm not knocking what people did, but just trying to improve on it. I'm getting there, believe it or not. I'm going to leave that for now. It's scary. All this dead stuff we're going to take out. And it's also going to allow us to see what growth is good. So whip-like growth here. Back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Between 3 and 5. And you just kind of start at one point and start working your way across. This does not seem, so I'm going to do the little scratch. He's alive. This is not very exciting, but it is necessary. I actually don't like that. I don't like how long it is, how much it's going to blow in the wind. I'm going to take that all the way back to there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take that back to a side branch. He's slowly winning. I'm just going to cut that back to here for now. I'll get to the rest of that when we get to the other side. When you see branches that are all, it looks like someone stuck a hypodermic needle into it and sucked all the moisture, you'll see that it's all sunken and ridgy. And that tells me that that branch is dead or mostly dead. See how that's all, looks like someone sucked the moisture out of it? It doesn't look like it's dead, but it's not well. So I'm actually going to take that whole branch out. There we go. And so this is all right, but we've got crossing wood here. With vines and weeping things, you can't care as much about crossing wood. Take your hangers out as you go. That's the same deal, it's all desiccated. Taking out these stubs. Swing across here, come around, 3 to 5. That looks pretty desiccated. So this is a vine that hasn't been really well looked after for a while. So there's a lot of dead stuff in here, but I'm starting to see what I've got. Still dead stuff. Take all this old. That's got me. I keep telling them, don't poke the guy with the pruners, but they don't seem to listen. Sometimes you can be fast about this. I think we feel bad when we're making cuts. That's why we leave the stubs. Maybe it'll come back from there. But all it does is stop the plant from healing properly. I don't love how far out this is sticking. I'm going to take it way back to there. While I'm in the spirit of that, take these guys out. I usually start with what I can reach at the bottom and then work my way toward the top, because the stuff at the bottom is going to stop me from getting to where I want to get eventually anyway when I set up the ladder. Good. Doesn't feel strong. No, it's okay. It's just a vine. Now, we're going to take this guy all the way back. I'm looking at the buds. Now again, see how these buds are brown right up my finger there? They don't look healthy, they don't look plump. Whereas a bud like this, that looks reddish brown and nice and plump, that's a healthy bud. So we're going to keep those. Sometimes you have to cut them out. Whoops. Oh, interesting. We'll get there. But this hole, there it is. I lost it for a minute there. I've actually been known to use colored clothespins to mark a branch that I'm going to be playing with. That way I don't lose all the tips as I prune. That's not well. And all that was to get at this guy here, and I still don't have access to it. As far as getting, there we go, there's the right angle. Dead stubs, dead stubs. That's not bad. That back to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take this all the way back to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just looking at the new, I keep saying whip-like, and I mean it, the new whip-like growth. Now, the vine is plenty hardy enough. We talk about these being hardy enough in our climate. It's not the vine itself that's hardy enough or not. It is the buds. And what happens is in a dry winter, a winter that doesn't have a lot of precipitation, it's the buds that dry out. Now, if you have a wisteria that hasn't bloomed in years, then it may never bloom, so you might want to look at replacing it with the cultivar Lawrence, Wisteria sinensis Lawrence. It is the gold standard for hardy wisteria. Apparently it was actually discovered in Brantford, Ontario. Some observant gardener noticed that on years that none of the other ones bloomed, this one particular one did. And so they propagated it, and that's all the world over. That's the best, hardiest wisteria. Sometimes you get these long growths, and it's better just to remove them. And part of that is because it wasn't, people weren't brutal enough with it before. There is, by the way, a better wisteria. It blooms on new wood. So what I mean by that, the buds that are here they were already made last year. And they can dry out through the winter. But Wisteria frutescens, Kentucky wisteria, that one blooms on new wood, wood that's made this season, that's going to be much more reliably blooming because you don't have to worry about that winter kill thing. And you can already see that this is starting to look better. Not very healthy. There we take this guy out because there's a lot of growth in here that I can work with. So that makes room for the other growth. This should be done in spring before things start to bud out. So wherever spring is for you, here we're talking late March, early April. And then again in August or September. Not too late, or you prompt new growth. So you make it grow, and then that growth doesn't have a chance to harden off for the winter. If you do this all the time, it's not so bad. We have wisteria at Knox Church in Oakville that require very little work now because we looked after them a lot when they were younger. And it took us a few years to get them back in shape. So that's the new growth there from here up. I could take it back to here. I'm just going to snap these little broken pieces out. A lot of bits and pieces in here. It would be much more exciting for you, the viewer, to be doing this on a vine that was in better shape, but it's not nearly as good a demonstration. I'm also thinking about how the gate opens. So there's a piece of whip-like growth. Take that back, take off all the dead stubs. Just taking off the dead stubs itself makes the vine look a lot more satisfying, a lot healthier, and healthier equals prettier. I could look at taking something like this where it's all bound on itself, taking it out, but there's too much. I can come back to that if I want. Don't feel the burning need to prune everything all at once. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can always come back later and do bits and pieces. Some of the stuff on the inside is going to be dead just because it's been shaded out by the stuff on the outside. All of this here, I'm going to try and take that one and keep that. This guy here, I'm going to try and unweave it a little bit to see what I've got. I'm going to take this whole, as we work our way around, I'm going to take this whole branch out because it's all just not great growth there. Some of this growth I'm going to take, where's it coming from? Actually, you know what? I'm going to keep that for the future. I'm just going to cut that and this back to the 3 to 5 buds. I try and think long term when I'm doing these things. Pruning is not about today as much as it is for the future. I'm also trying to just take some of this stuff that's coming way out here, because there's a garden under here. I'm trying to take some of this back. For instance, let's take that, for starters, all the way to here. And while I'm here, wisteria flowers are edible, but the pods are poisonous. So even though they look like beans, don't eat them. Sometimes it's worth taking a moment to unweave these These have sort of wrapped around itself. And then I can see if there's anything. Yeah, I can take this off to there, and then that to there. So I've taken it back a fair bit. This is discolored, which tells me it's not well. And that to there, this is discolored. Well, yeah. Color and texture of branches tells you a lot about how healthy and happy they are. It's something that, honestly, you just kind of get used to over time. You learn to watch for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 3. Dead. 5. 5. 5. You may have noticed that I'm not actually counting at this point. I'm kind of going, yeah, close enough. Dead. I can get to it. Oh, more dead. The more you look, the more you see. Never looked. It's important to get the dead. Why do I care so much about getting the dead stuff out? Because it can harbor disease, which can later on hurt the plant. Believe it or not, we're getting somewhere. Again, you can see it looks dried out. Is it alive? No, it wasn't even alive. So I was overly concerned. This is dead, or close to. And taking out all the old dead stuff also makes room. See, I left that too long. So we want to take that back further. Taking out the dead stuff also leaves room for new healthy stuff to grow in. Mostly dead. We're going to take that back all the way to here. I think it's time that I sharpened my secateurs. We're not doing human surgery here. If you screw up and you cut something off that you shouldn't have cut off, it'll grow back. So don't feel too bad if you make the wrong cut. I make wrong cuts all the time. It's okay. And gardening is supposed to be fun. So don't get too stressed about it. This is a lovely branch, but he's out where we don't want him. So we're going to take that off. And in fact, let's make that the end of the branch. You always want to cut. You have a cutting bed, and then you got the big blade or the cutting blade. And the cutting bed, well, these are special, but they have a beveled cutting bed, but you have more accuracy if you keep the big blade toward the big wood, the part of the wood that you're keeping. If you cut with the cutting bed in, then you often don't have the precision that you would like to have. So big blade toward big wood. I forget who taught me that, but thanks to whoever it was if you're watching this. I think it was actually one of my Mohawk students. You may have noticed I use my hands. My secateurs like hands. So I use them to grab things and pull them out instead of putting it down. That's actually still attached over there. Let's chase that, shall we? out of there. Oh, which led me to this guy, which led me to this guy, that guy, this guy. I get distracted. I follow things along, and I try and remember to come back and get where I was later on. I remind myself that every cut that I do is important, so I try not to beat myself up when I get distracted. So with these little ones, you kind of got to follow them up and take it a little bit at a time until you can get to something that you can pull out of there, or frankly cut out later. In that case, I'll get to that later on. We now have something that doesn't have any long whip-like growth. We've taken out all the dead, diseased, and damaged. This is a different tree. This is a serviceberry, and the wisteria is growing all up into it. So we're going to decide who we like more. And we have lots and lots of wisteria, and we only have one serviceberry. So we're going to take this back to our 3 to 5 buds, and over here, and then eventually we'll get that all out of the serviceberry, and I'm going to cut it out so that I don't damage the serviceberry. I have to do some work up there, so I'm just going to cut that to something I can reach. There we go. So we're gonna get it all out of the serviceberry eventually. They're downright insidious in how they grow into other shrubs, but you gotta remember they're just doing their job. They're just living. But we definitely, they'll kill the serviceberry eventually, and we don't want that. What I could do though is I could take this guy here, this long whip-like guy, and I could gently bend him back. If I break him, I break him. That was really close actually. And I'm going to just weave this in through the fence to give us some flower a little further down. And I broke that. Back to there. Yeah. And now we have something that's under control, and we'll do it again in August. And since I have your attention, check out our Patreon page. If you search Sean James Consulting and Patreon, then you should find our Patreon page, and there's some really cool deep into the pool paid content in there that I would absolutely love you to check out. And please let us know what you think too.